The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday, TGIF, in the Riv. And
happy birthday to me.
And it is CJ's birthday. So he's going to sing happy birthday to himself. So all you people out there, please, everybody sing in your living rooms, happy birthday. I will not sing because
I'll pay you not to sing.
That's right. I have been paid for a long time not to sing. Even when I was in school, the music teacher said, you will pass only if you lip sync. You open your mouth, you throw the entire class off T. So I have absolutely no ability to sing.
I had to, as you noticed, one of the first postings I've put on your desk is Jared on TV. Jared watches regularly, and I really appreciate Jared watching it.
We do, Jared.
Yeah, yep. In my opinion, the problem is that we are living in a post-recession era that wiped out so many Fall River businesses 10 years ago, and now we are desperate to bring businesses back here, that businesses have our city by the balls because they know that we can't afford any more empty storefronts. So our city officials are in begging mode, even at the expense of our citizens.
Well, I agree in part. You know, I don't exactly know what post-recession, it means there's no recession, which means business is good. But you're right, we're in a begging mode, and we shouldn't be in a begging mode. We should be in a proactive mode of learning how to actually develop our economy. And that's the key, I think, we talked about on the last show, that they're fixated on businesses. And the reality is that the businesses, communities like this, really, their economy is based on small businesses, mom and pop stores and small clothing stores and things like that. But that is all contingent on people with discretionary income. What happens in communities like Fall River that are always decimated, first people, last people hired, first people fired kind of jobs, is that anybody that has an ability to get a good job leaves. And that's what's happened. When Fall River went in the toilet and people began to get bad, most people who weren't on a fixed income or were totally oblivious and lived in the more affluent areas, they moved out of the community. We continue to talk about our workforce, and we don't have any anymore. All the people with job skills moved everywhere. I mean, they moved to Somerset, they moved to Tiverton, they moved to Dartmouth, they moved to Westport, they moved to California, they moved to Texas, they moved somewhere. Bottom line is they got out of Dodge. And so we're left with a workforce that really is virtually unemployable. We see that when we get a company the size of Amazon literally begging for people to come to work. There are 7 million jobs in this country unfilled because of they need a level of training and technical expertise, which we should be focusing on. And again, the focus is always about bringing in businesses. That's counterproductive. You're bringing in businesses, and your focus is on bringing in businesses which will fundamentally fail, because small business is the backbone of a city like Fall River's economy, not the Amazons, because the Amazons employ people from a regional area. And as we know, there aren't very many Fall River people working at Amazon right now, even though it's been there for a while. Big businesses take the TIFs, drain your tax dollars, impose a negative burden on this community, as not CJ and I said it a long time ago, but our argument has been buttressed by Princeton and Columbia's study on TIFs. The reality is we need to bring small businesses in And that's what floated this community. When Pleasant Street, every storefront was filled, not with high-end Gucci bag shops and all fancy shops. People all worked. They worked in the mills. They worked, they had jobs, and they had income, and they spent money. Granted, they didn't spend tons of money, but they spent money. We've proved our point by comparing Cambridge and Newton versus Fall River and New Bedford. Cities of approximately the same size that have more than double the amount of businesses in Fall River. Why? Their per capita and household income is nearly 3 times what it is in Fall River. That's what keeps businesses afloat. That's what kept the businesses in Fall River afloat years ago when we had a movie in the Flint, a movie house, a movie downtown. 2 movies, actually, at one time, 2 movie houses. 2 men's shops on South Main Street. Stores, there wasn't a storefront empty on Pleasant Street. Why? Was this some aberration of the fact that we had a lot of rich people living in Fall River? No, we didn't. What I read about from the Labor's Untold Story in 1883, these people didn't have a lot of money, but they had money. And you're right, Jared. We are in a begging mode, and that is wrong. We should be in a proactive mode to try to develop what we need to develop, which is our workforce, and also entice people to come to Fall River who have skills. Instead of giving tips to businesses that employ virtually nobody, let's have incentive programs to move into Fall River. But no, they just keep giving their friends jobs and killing the taxpayer, which will kind of segue us into the next thing, giving their friends jobs. Meet the new members of the Fall River Redevelopment Authority, CJ.
Yeah, we've spoken about this briefly in the past, but Governor Charlie Baker appointed Joe Marshall to the RDA, and Paul Coogan appointed Joan Medeiros and 3 other board members. He's the co-chairman. Joe Marshall's the co-chairman of the Vietnam War Memorial Committee. Marshall's also on Mayor Coogan's transition team, concentrating on economic and workforce development. I'm not going to disparage Mr. Marshall's background in finance or any of that. And I think that he probably was a better choice by the governor than some other people who may have been chosen because of that. He has the knowledge of what Fall River is, what the Fall River economy is like, what the work environment is like. My problem is that he is a political tick. He's in everything. He's into everything. And I mean, you don't see anything happen without his face being there. We saw this with previous mayors. We've seen this with other committees, other boards. You've had dealings with him in the past as well. I mean, many people have. He's not a bad guy. I'm not going to disparage him in any way, but when you look at him, he's very connected politically to everybody, and I'm still trying to figure out what benefit is he gaining from it, because he's got to be gaining something from it. Everybody gains something from it. You don't do it for no reason.
Yeah, he actually was on the committee to get a new executive director. He was the non-board member, but he was a previous board member under Eddie Lambert, I believe, in the retirement board. So he's been around for a long time, which then goes for the some of the conspiracy theorists that are saying that the shadow government is part of the shadow government now is Eddie Lambert, and he is he was a integral part of many things that Lambert during the Lambert administration. And look, he's been a businessman for a long time. But the only problem I have is, again, it's obviously a difference of perspective. He says he was adding. I think it's a good group, and I've known Joan Medeiros for a long time. They bring different skill sets, and then he goes on to say that John and Lewis are businessmen. And I think that is the fundamental problem. They're businessmen. And look, let's face it, they've all got really good jobs and got a lot of money. Joan is the vice president for commercial lending, and you don't lend commercially to weak businesses.
Right, and I said before,
you know,
she has that
they have a
background.
different perspective, as I said. This is what bothers me about these things. You know, we've got a new administration, but the reality is there seems to be the same old perspective. It's like, their focus will be on, again, giving breaks to businesses, catering to begging businesses to come here, and that's the way they're going to develop it. But we've proven that doesn't work. We brought one of the biggest employers on the planet to Fall River, Amazon. Has it done one iota of benefit to our economy overall? No. No. We've had major employers come to Fall River with TIFs. It doesn't help the economy. This economy is fundamentally, the foundation of this economy is small businesses. All these communities of our size. You know, look, the reality is when you look at major employers, they all focus into the major cities. If you look at where are all the major insurance companies and stuff headquartered? Boston, Cambridge, which is a suburb of Boston, which is almost like Boston because there's no more room for them to be in Boston, so they go to Cambridge. You go look at other states, where are the headquarters? In the capital cities, in the large cities. So when you look at medium-sized and small cities, where is their economy based? Their economy is based in small businesses. And small businesses only survive when you have people who will spend money. It's not rocket science, but I think their perspective is not working. And these appointments fundamentally are going to continue the same old perspective that doesn't work. They're going to take care of their friends in business. They're going to talk about how, a rising tide raises all boats, which is absolute crap. That is not true. Like trickle-down economics, it was not true. We proved Reagan's theory of trickle-down economics was bullshit. The only thing that trickles down is feces. Because we've proven it. What happened in the United States? They said, if you make all these companies rich and strong, everybody will survive. Look at the increase in the median income, and look what's happened to the middle class. What happened to all these companies that became multinational? They moved out of this country. Anybody that can employ somebody cheaper somewhere else bailed. So what trickled down? Unemployment. What tide got raised? Their bottom line, their stockholders' portfolios. That's what was elevated.
And the unemployment numbers.
And the unemployment numbers in Fall River, exactly. And we ended up with losing a lot of our people because they couldn't work anywhere near this place and they moved out. You know, this is what bothers me about this stuff. And I have nothing against any, and I know these people are, they're upstanding citizens. But I think their perspective is 100% wrong. That's my opinion, and you can agree or disagree with this opinion. But I think that I can prove my opinion because just look at Fall River, look at Amazon. One of the biggest employers in the world, one of the richest companies in the world. If you use their economic development formula, Fall River should now be Newton. But it's not. Why? Different demographic here. 70 5% of the people in Newton have a bachelor's degree or greater. Their income is 3.5 times what it is here.
And 70% of the people in Fall River are at the poverty level or below.
That's right. And yet we look at what they want to do, and it's small businesses that even Newton doesn't have major, they don't have an Amazon. They've got a whole bunch of restaurants. They've got a whole bunch of small businesses. And that's what really makes their economy vibrant, because there's people there with money. It's like one of the greatest cities is so close to us, really. A lot of people don't realize it. One of the greatest success stories in modern history of a community turning itself around is Portland, Maine. Portland, Maine is one of the most successful, vibrant, and unique cities, smaller cities, medium-sized cities, depending on your criteria for medium size. It's about the size, it's a little bit larger than Fall River now. But southern Maine, which isn't a great climate, but they turned that city around. I encourage you all, and I'm not the tourism director, by the way, for Portland, Maine, but it is a beautiful, beautiful city. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow lived there. They developed their seaport. They developed their community. There are tons of unique restaurants. They've really done amazing things with that community with no major industry. There's virtually nothing in Portland except small businesses. And it is an incredibly successful and vibrant city. Why?
Doesn't that sound a lot like Fall River, though? A seaport, we have one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Restaurants, we have lots of those. And, I mean, granted, most of them are all Portuguese, but we're now getting an influx of Asian restaurants, different types of Asian restaurants. Yeah. So our restaurant industries are growing in Fall River. What don't we have? We don't have the small businesses.
Yeah,
the other thing we don't have, and I'm going to get hell for this, but I did some research
Whatever stopped you.
over the past 12 to 16 hours, and I found out that every successful city in Massachusetts is governed by a Republican.
Oh boy, here comes the hell.
Here comes the hell.
Put your helmet on.
That's right, but honestly, the cities and towns that have Republicans in control, either as mayor, town managers, selectmen, city councilors, they all have vibrant economies.
Yeah.
Why is that a Republican, and we have a Republican governor, and look at what the state's doing. Granted, he's a rhino, but he's still a Republican governor.
Well, the Republicans, and I am an independent, but obviously, I lean more toward a lot of the Republican things now because I have always been a fiscal conservative,
right,
and a moderate, as far as social issues are concerned. But Republicans like to allow businesses to be businesses. They don't go out and give them all kinds of breaks. They believe in pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, encouraging business, and not just giving away the store. And they're smaller government, lower tax party. That's what they do. They don't like to, let's give out everything for free and tax the middle class to death. So that may or may not be the success story. I don't think anybody would ever have the courage to declare themselves a Republican and run for mayor in this city.
Not in Massachusetts, that's for sure.
And in this state, because we found how futile it is. Although it's ironic that we've had a lot of Republican governors, it's amazing how this state virtually never votes Democratic for anything else except governor.
Well, interestingly enough, if you look over the history of the governors, every Democratic governor had shortfalls.
Yeah.
Had shortfalls in their budgets. And what did they turn to? Tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend. Republican governors don't have shortfalls.
Yeah.
They have surpluses. We had $1 billion surplus.
Yeah, which means overtaxation. But, you know, to get, you know, that's the thing, though. The key here is, like Portland, Maine, small businesses and people who go there and spend money. Portland is the largest city in southern Maine, maybe the largest city in Maine. I'm not sure the population's in Maine anymore. I know Augusta's the capital because my father was born there. And I go to Maine every summer, virtually every summer. I love Maine in the summer. I hate Maine in the winter. You wouldn't catch me up there now on a bet. It's too damn cold up there.
And it's too much snow.
And too much snow, yeah. But it's a great place. And Portland, Maine is a beautiful, beautiful little community. They've even got some restaurant, I forgot the name of it, that serves some of the best French fries I've ever tasted because they're fried in duck fat. And I'd never heard of that before until I went there. And they fry them in duck fat. And what flavor? Of course, I love French fries anyway, but any kind of French fry is good with me. But that's great. But that city is a credit because that city was an absolute crap hole at one time. And I've been going to Maine my entire life. My father used to vacation in Maine because he was born there. I went there as a child through my entire growing up. And then I went there again and took my children, and both of my children still go to Maine in the summer. Still take a week or two to go to Maine in the summer. Great place to visit. Portland's got tons of tourism, and they also have tons of people that go to Portland from the surrounding area to take advantage of those businesses. So the key is, you know, I'm talking about how great the businesses are, and they did a great job of cultivating those businesses. But the bottom line still gets down to people with money, people with jobs. You cannot have a redevelopment of a city when the majority of people are either junkies or unemployable. The workforce, and let's look at our workforce, because that's the con that they're running now to the people. We got a great workforce. People in Fall River, we've always had that great blue-collar workforce. No, we don't.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Definitely not anymore.
Not anymore. Because everybody that could pass a drug test and could get a job above an entry-level job has basically bailed.
And that's the truth. I mean, what are the big businesses in Fall River? Hospitals, nursing homes, methadone clinics, alcohol and drug detox facilities, social service industry stuff. Okay, which doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay anything.
And also, most of the people who work there don't live in a city.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, they got the ones who do have high-paying jobs, like their board of directors. I'd like to see a list of Charlton's board of directors because they wanted a almost 3 times the amount of increase in their charges. We all know what they did with their patients and scared their patients. And I'd like to see what their board of directors are making now. I know they're making well in excess of $500,000 and up for all of them, and I'll bet you most of them don't live in the city of Fall River. And it's supposed to be a nonprofit hospital, which is laughable. But they wanted to make a big profit. So this is the problem we have in Fall River. And look, I know Joe, I get along with Joe. I like Joe. I just think that we have to change the perspective in the city. And we also have to get people in here who are going to say the right thing, because there is a rumor floating around that they're trying to get rid of the head of the park board.
Yes, I've heard that same rumor.
And that rumor is becoming very, very, it's being passed around. And I'll tell you what, I do not like that, because, you know something, I was very impressed, and I don't know her, but I was very impressed by the fact that she held people accountable for the first time. When they went in looking for money from the CPA, which we're going to try to repeal, which has always been used for as a political slush fund for people who fit, like Mr. Hebert, and you know, they give them money for the roof, they don't fix it, they come back for more money. But she finally said, look, you got money since what, 2016, CJ?
Yep.
that you haven't used. I'm not going to give you any more money because we don't know, I mean, that's why we need a forensic audit. Who knows what they spent that money for and if it migrated somewhere else.
Oh, and I got one that's your pet peeve. From what I understand, again, the rumor mill is strong, so most of our rumors are pretty accurate.
Yep.
They want to hire a new treasurer for the park board.
Wow, that's what we need, another job. How many treasurers do we need?
Right.
But look, the thing that disturbs me about this is the way I'm looking at this, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. It almost appears to me like they're removing this individual from the park board because she's trying to do the right thing rather than being a political rubber stamp.
Exactly.
And giving all the politically connected people money.
I have to agree with you there. I have to.
I mean, you'll have to give me another explanation. When I see someone, and I don't know this woman, I couldn't identify her in a lineup, to be perfectly truthful. But when I hear that somebody actually said, you're not going to get any more money because you're not using the money that we give you, and I'm not going to give you any more until you show me that you're doing something with what we're giving you. Now, that's the right thing to do.
That's
accountability. How many times have we talked about accountability on this show? So now because she did that, what did everybody run? Run to City Hall and go, oh, get rid of her. All the people that are in can't get their little bonus from CPA. We can't dip in and get new air conditioners and stuff like that for politically connected people. We can't get this stuff. And now we're going to have a treasurer? Let's see. We got a treasurer here. We got a treasurer in the school department. Now we're going to get a treasurer for the park department. Let's get a treasurer for the fire department and a treasurer for the police department and a treasurer for DC. Let's just give everybody a job. A treasurer? I don't know about you, CJ, but every department is supposed to make their own budget, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Why do we need a treasurer? The city, every department makes their own budget, and the fire chief's got an administrative assistant who does the budget. The police department's got an administrative assistant who does the budget. But we need a treasurer. Why can't we have one? I don't even agree with a treasurer in the school department. Isn't the school department budget, even though they're supposedly semi-autonomous or they're autonomous to a degree, isn't that part of the overall city budget, right? Just like a department, it has to go in and justify their budget. The superintendent of schools has to go in front of the council and justify their budget. We got a treasurer. I'll tell you what. Give the treasurer a $40,000 raise, the city treasurer, the city auditor. Give them all a pay raise and take the six-figure salaries away from the ones in the school department. Why do we need a school department treasurer, a school department CFO, a school department dean of students? All they ever do is figure out jobs for their friends. If they try to put a treasurer in the park department, they should get out the pitchforks and the torches.
I agree. And one of the things I think why Marcy Yitkin, who's the chairman of the park board, or chairwoman, I think one of the reasons why they're all upset with her is because she refused, or she had the board deny a CPA for floating docks. And we talked about this before.
Yeah.
She couldn't do that. The boat ramp is under the control of DCR, not under the control of the park board or the city of Fall River. Therefore, they can't do it. That's Fall River money. But everyone's upset because the harbor master wanted that.
Yeah. Well, when has the law and the fact that it wasn't legal for us to do it technically, when has that ever stopped them from doing it? How many times has Fall River ignored the law to take care of politicians?
Well, we would have accepted responsibility for that whole
Virtually always. So she did the right thing. She saved the taxpayers from wasting money and taking responsibility for something that wasn't ours. And her thanks is all the political lackeys are saying, you better get rid of her, because I'll tell you what, she's not letting us do what we want, just like turning the pier into whatever they want.
Exactly. Hey, everyone, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Take care, and remember, stay angry.
Very angry.